Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube. It is your girl Honey. Welcome back people, welcome back. And those of you who are new here, welcome to my channel. Today people, we are talking about finding depression in astrology. I did make a video many years ago where I spoke about mental health. I will tag that video in the comments section below. It will be pinned to the top where you guys can find my videos, my astrology blogs as well, and anything else will be put down there. However, I have had quite a lot of comments from people who are dealing with depression, and I want to just talk about ways that it can be found in the chart. Natal chart placements, transits, progressions can all display when people go through periods of depression. Okay, so when we talk about depression, there are people who have it due to there being illnesses. Sometimes depression comes on because you're taking particular medication, so it can be a response to a medication. It can be a response to a disease that you have. Diseases as well can contribute to depression. It can also be something that is situational, where something actually has happened in your life where you've become very depressed. And it can also be part of a mental health issue. Some people deal with depression. There are different types of depression, like bipolar as well, can be linked to depression. So there are different reasons and experiences that people have as to why they have depression. There is an argument that people have high functioning depression. It's still something that is being studied, but it's not something that people are diagnosed with. Please bear all of that in mind in this video, because some people will say, I've got that, but I don't have this. And I know, okay, different things create different responses. I want to start off by saying this. When it comes to depression, especially if it's a situation depression, your Mars is the biggest thing to help you out. Mars is your motivation, drive, temperament, reaction, response. It's your energy, and the sign of your Mars is going to be how you can feel more motivated. A lot of people experience depression because they are feeling as though they are stuck in a rut and they can't get out of it. To get out of that rut is essentially how your Mars is positioned. So if you have a Mars in Aries, you might need to work out every day, which creates positive hormonal release in your body that keeps you more energized and keeps you more in a positive frame of mind. Leo, for example, maybe your Mars desires you to be a lot more creative. Do some drawing, maybe design something, do something creative that stimulates the energy of your Mars, and that might help you to feel a little bit better. Do this every day. If your Mars sits in Gemini, pick up a book, read a new book, buy a self-help book, do some writing, write a self-help book. If your Mars happens to be in Virgo, sort out your health, regulate your health, focus on the things that your body is responding to. When you binge eat, do you feel shit afterwards? If you do, stop binge eating and start eating healthy. Go and pick up a bowl of salad, or go and look into the healthy things, the healthy replacement. What's the benefits of lentils? What's the benefits of having dark chocolate instead of having milk chocolate? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to respond to your emotions with your Mars. That will really help you to make sense of how to respond to it. I won't say cure it, but I will say Mars plays a big role in helping you out. If I've not mentioned your Mars, I will respond to you in the comments and tell you what your Mars can do. If you've got Mars in Aquarius, Mars in Pisces, I will write it down for you if you were curious about it. When we look at depression, it's important that we look at the condition of Mercury, we look at the condition of the moon, we look at the condition of Pluto, we look at the 12th house, the 6th house, the 4th house, the 8th house. It all kind of tells us a story. The most common placements I've seen for depression is definitely when Saturn is in poor aspect to the moon. This can be a square, an opposition, in a lot of cases we see the conjunction. This can be relatable to people who have Capricorn moons as well, Aquarius moons, Gemini moons, Pisces moons, Saturn squaring, Neptune also forming a square, opposition, or conjunction. Again, this is all in the natal chart where people are more prone to depression. But the thing is with Pluto, there's usually a lot more going on than situational depression. Sometimes we see that person might actually need to respond to psychiatric help, more so when Pluto is involved. There can also be medication prone to Pluto being involved. We've seen Saturn as well, because sometimes when it comes to Saturn, it can be so heavy and restrictive. It's very hard to come out of it. You literally internalize all of your issues and you're not very good at sharing how you feel. So even if I said, yeah, go and see a therapist, these people will go to a therapist. The therapist would ask, what's wrong? How do you feel? I'm okay. Yeah, I'm all right. I just feel a bit shit sometimes, that's all. They're not going to share a lot. Other people haven't got Saturn involved, they might take 3 sessions of therapy and they might feel a bit better. It might take Saturn influenced people at least 10 sessions before they start to really share and for you to get into their mind, unless you're a really good therapist, you know. Saturn can just be very restrictive and very heavy, and everybody around them can feel their energy, and that can be horrible for them, because that's the worst thing, is to have their negative energy impact other people. They hate that feeling, and that feeling alone just puts them in a state of, okay, I need to separate myself from that person, you know. Whereas Neptune is more around confusion. I'm not quite sure of what I'm doing with this energy. People who deal with the square, the opposition, the conjunction, are more likely to struggle, you know, and this can also relate to people who go through transits like this, are more likely to struggle with diving into substances, alcohol, you know, some type of abuse. It could also be food related, but there's something that people tend to do to suppress that feeling, to hide from that feeling, and it's usually linked to addictions. And the crazy thing is like Neptune people often hide behind their addictions from, or by diving into like art. You know, they make great music, they're very emotionally in tune with their creativity, but they are not very good at responding to their emotions because they feel it so deeply, but they would rather suppress that by diving into something else that's going to suppress it. And it's crazy, like when we go through like transits and solar returns and even progressions as well, the 3rd house comes up quite a lot, because the 3rd house is the house of communication, processing information, generating ideas. It's the house associated with learning. And when you have the sun placed in there that year, or Saturn, you don't have any time to feel, you know, especially if Saturn's there, you don't really have time to talk. Like you don't feel like talking or sharing how you feel. And a lot of the focus is what's happening up here. Like I don't want to feel anything, I just want to focus on stimulation. So when Saturn sits there, it can, you know, create a period of depression, and often people just don't feel like talking. When you think about as well like transits and progressions, you might have, like right now Saturn is in Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces until next year. If Saturn is crossing over your moon, especially if you have a Pisces progressed moon, you're gonna feel Saturn crossing over. You're gonna feel Saturn restricting your emotions and suppressing how you're feeling, and you might not be completely truthful, transparent to people about how you're really feeling. The same goes for the mutable signs. That's Gemini moon, Sag moon, Virgo moon, Pluto. Saturn is going to be aspecting those placements. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to look at what's happening with all of the planets. You've got to know what's happening with transits and progressions, and certain things bring up other things. Even for myself, for example, when Saturn was in Aquarius, I went through a period of like situational depression. I invested a lot of money into a project. The guy who was handling it and who I was paying literally did not do a very good job at all. He sold me a dream and couldn't produce the work that was promised to me, took my money, couldn't get my money back. It was awful. But that set me into like a really sad place where I couldn't even share what I was going through, but I knew that it was depression. And that was in my solar return chart. I had Saturn in my 3rd house, Neptune squaring my moon, you know, and it was just really hard for me because I couldn't quite understand how to shake off that feeling. I just couldn't get it off. And it does take sometimes going to see a therapist, and you know, I went to go and see one and I got a lot of help from her, and I've been good ever since. But you've got to recognize when to get help. And that's the thing about depression. You've got to ask yourself, what can I do? And I've suggested looking at your Mars placements. But yeah, that's what I look for when it comes to finding depression in astrology. All right, take care. Bye.